the thing that changed acting for me is like, don't care. Like, don't try. Which like sounds like bad advice, but it's like
No.
the minute you start like thinking too hard about it, or like you put in all this work and you're like, this has to go the way that I planned it. It has to be like this. Like, then you're not going to do a good job.
Welcome back to the Fringe. Today we have Nick Exum on. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you for
Nick
having
is
me.
how do you want to describe yourself? Actor.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Actor, playwright, comic, writer,
Yeah, I would say
illustrator.
probably just like I am probably writer first, because that is the thing that kind of spans everything for me. Writer, artist, and actor is kind of like what I usually say. Actor last these days, just because I'm like, it's a tough world.
Oh my God, is it ever? Yeah, we'll get into it all. But thanks so much.
Thank you
for coming on, dude.
Thank
Is like one of the magics of so many negative things about social media, but like this is one of the cool things is that like it can connect you with people that like you didn't know before.
Yeah.
And I'm so pumped to have you on. So clue me in a little bit, because I don't know you. Where do you come from? Are you from here?
I'm not from like LA. I'm from California in theory. I was born in Oregon, but I didn't spend a lot of time there when I was growing up. I grew up in Southern California near like Temecula, San Diego area, and then moved up to Sacramento, and then came back down to SoCal for school. I went to University of California, Irvine for undergrad and for grad school.
Okay. Gotcha. When was that? What
I
timeline?
graduated grad school in 2022.
Okay. So then what is like your creative timeline kind of looked like?
From what to what?
From the beginning, like what were some of those what was it for you, like in the beginning, early inspirations, like even as like a kid, what were you kind of thinking? Was it creative stuff?
Yeah.
Was that kind of in your head?
Yeah. From a very early age, I was drawing and writing a lot. And like some of my inspirations were like video games sometimes. Like one of my biggest inspirations still is like the Legend of Zelda video games, just because I really love fantasy and was really drawn towards that. And then, so I was drawing constantly, and I kind of thought that would be what I did forever.
Yeah.
And then in high school, started acting. It was in like the theater productions and stuff. I was like, oh, this has kind of surpassed everything else for me as far as interest. And so I decided I would go to school for that. Kind of stopped drawing for a long time and didn't really get back into it until after I finished undergrad. I bought an iPad and was like, I really want to do digital art, and started doing that. Went back to school for acting again, stopped drawing for a while. Then the pandemic happened when I was in grad school, and so I couldn't act in a lot of the same ways I had been. So I started writing a lot and started drawing a lot again, working on comics that I was kind of putting on Instagram. And so like on and off, I've had these ideas for kind of like Instagrammable comics that I'm like trying to keep short, that I can draw really fast and post a lot. Mm-hmm. And when I was out of grad school, I was working on a comic that was called The Little Knight, and it was all black and white. It was really simple, and I would try and post one of those like once a week, and people seemed to like it. Like, I mean, most of the people that I knew were like, this is really cool, you should keep doing that. And so it seemed like there was a lot of engagement with that. And I then started thinking about like what that would look like as a full-length comic, and was trying to build up to that idea. Then a play that I wrote ended up getting produced for Hollywood Fringe, and I acted in it as well.
Oh my God.
That kind of put a stop to that for a while, because that was like took up all of my spare time.
Sure.
Which that was really, really great, and like has kind of made me look at playwriting now as another avenue for my interest in telling stories.
Yeah.
When I was in grad school and the pandemic happened, I tried to start focusing more on screenwriting or like writing short films and that kind of stuff, just because it felt like a place that I could be creative without having to actually physically be acting. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed doing that play for Fringe and acting in it. And so in theory, I'm still writing plays, still kind of trying to get them produced for different theater productions in LA. But now that has sort of wrapped and I'm currently unemployed because the company I worked for went out of business, I have a lot of time to pour into this comic that has now taken on kind of a new art style, a new look, and it's now like a full length comic in theory. I've like outlined the whole thing and I'm kind of chipping away at it here and there.
Yeah, it looks sick.
Thank you. Thank you so
that's
much.
why like I was so pumped that you reached out to me, and like I saw, all the different kinds of things, just looking through your pages, all the different kinds of things that you were like investing yourself towards. And I love like those like multi-hyphenate people. I think those are like the most incredible people and like exciting,
Yeah, I have like too many special interests, too many hobbies, and like I periodically will like put certain things on pause because I'm focusing on one thing for a while, and it never really feels like I'm giving up on that thing. Like I have been focusing so much on this comic, but I also have been I have a commercial agent, and so I'll audition for commercials, and then I've been submitting to like smaller projects on Actors Access and stuff. And so I got into a play for this year's Hollywood Fringe as well, and that just ended yesterday. We had our last like encore show, and that went really well and was really rewarding. So I'm like, I'm still in theory doing all of these things. It's just kind of like where those opportunities are at the time.
That's sweet. I mean, shout out to Fringe, by the way. If you ever need a podcast, the name just kind of transfers right over.
So true.
Yeah, that's sweet though. I mean, I kind of want to. So you came. When did you move into LA?
In 2022, like late 2022.
Okay, so yeah, you're still like. I mean, that's like kind of when I came.
Yeah,
I was probably early 22.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you came out here. Was it? I mean, I know you were thinking about all these things. Were you like? Were you thinking like acting is gonna be like my thing that's gonna make it for me?
I think I was thinking that. I was also thinking that because I really liked to write, that like in theory I could gather people to be interested in like a short film I was working on, and it felt like my writing might be the avenue into acting for me, just because I'm constantly writing. But it was also in the middle of the like actors strike that I moved here, so it was like nothing was happening, and I was submitting to agents a lot, and I got a commercial agent pretty quickly, but not any other agent. And it's sort of my having to pay rent and survive has sort of taken over as far as me pursuing acting so intensely. Which is why I kind of focus on these things that I feel like I have a lot more control over. As an actor, you're kind of leaving it up to, will I get cast? Will I get an agent? But like if I'm working on a comic that's my own project, I'm in control of every element of it. So that's kind of been where I've been able to pour my creative energy.
That's so sick. That's awesome. I love that, being able to like pivot and use all those pieces of creativity, whatever it is. So when you got to LA, what were you doing, just to like for people that are coming to LA or here in LA, to give context, what were you doing for like to make rent payments?
So a variety of things. What was the first thing that I did? I started work as an after school program teacher. So I was teaching art after school and drama after school for this elementary and middle school, like private charter school.
Yeah.
And it was fine. But because I taught when I was in grad school, I taught acting, I taught movement, I taught speech, all like through the acting lens. And I didn't always enjoy it, but I enjoyed teaching movement a lot because it was very physical. It felt like I had ownership over that more than maybe some of the other stuff that I taught. But teaching kids, is not my I'm not so gifted with
it's
small
a special
children.
Breed.
Like I figured the middle schoolers would be more difficult just because they have an attitude, but they were much easier. And so I didn't stay there for that long because it really drained my life force, and it was kind of a commute to get there. And
where was the school?
It was in LA, but it was like very East LA. I couldn't even tell you now.
Okay.
And then I also worked at an escape room that I stayed at for quite a while. That was honestly great. Love escape rooms. Loved working there.
Sick.
And then for a while before this company went out of business, I was working for a place called Doppel that took 3D scans and created custom 3D miniatures. I was the manager of the store. Great job. It was the best paying job I'd ever had. It was not flexible. I was 40 hours a week, and the schedule was not I was working a lot of weekends. It kind of just depended on the week and when other people were available. So that was a great job because I was finally like, I'm not worried about money, but I also had no time to do anything else. So it was having a commercial agent and that job were really complicated because they were like,
Yeah.
okay, you have an audition tomorrow at this time, be there. And I was like, well, who knows if I can do that? Because I'm in theory in charge of this store. And so I
Right.
like often had to, wiggle my way around
I
getting to
know.
this.
Isn't it crazy how they just expect drop of the hat? And I know like some of the strikes is supposed to make that like better as far as like auditions or like getting stuff in or showing up for stuff. I don't know. I find some of that stuff so annoying.
It's crazy. I mean, they kind of just expect you to get a job that works with that. And a lot of people do. I cannot work in like a food service industry, like waiting tables. Like it stresses me out more than anything else. I like cannot do it. So that's maybe my greatest downfall as an actor is that I can't be a server.
I get that. I'm with you there. I don't know if I could ever I could do a lot of different jobs, but I could never do. I think it's more like the food thing. Like it can be like back in the kitchen, like kind of gross. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what like fucks me up. But also remembering, who ordered what.
I have a good memory, just like when things get like busy and
It's too much.
I can't handle it.
Yeah, yeah. So how was you came in 2022? You got a commercial agent pretty quick.
Pretty
How
fast.
did you get that? Just cold?
I mean, like I really have a lot to I owe a lot to my classmates who had figured it out. And so one of my classmates, I was like, hey, so what kind of emails are you sending? Because she got a commercial agent pretty fast. She was like, here's my template. And I was like, great. And I like copied it almost exactly. And was like just looking for agents online and sending myself off and like getting interviews over Zoom where they were like, okay, do this. Or they would ask you to self-tape something. So I should have been doing that for theatrical agents and legit agents at the same time. But I was kind of just trying to do one at a time. And then here we are.
Yeah, yeah. How has like that work come over the last like couple of years? Have you been able to,
I haven't booked a single commercial. I get called back a lot, but I don't think I'm particularly good at commercial acting, so that
Same.
is maybe part of it.
Same. It's very much like I don't know. I think with commercial acting, and I can't like figure it out either, but like the director has a very specific thing and these exact things that you need to do exactly what they're thinking. There's no room for like interpretation or like changes at all. And I think sometimes I struggle with that, I think that's where I kind of go wrong, where I kind of find it difficult. And it's also difficult because there's like so many people nowadays trying to get these commercial jobs.
Yeah, it's a few things for me. Like I think you have to have a really like charismatic, charming personality, and like
Don't sell yourself short.
I tend to be a little bit more reserved, and so like
Okay.
I feel like
You also showed up to a stranger's
That's true.
apartment for a podcast. So
That's true.
That reserved.
but like having a character, like it feels like commercials ask you to be yourself a little bit more than like acting in a play might. It just depends on the commercial, I suppose, but it also like the way those auditions are is you have to get it really fast, and sometimes I'm better like on the third try. So like
Yes.
who knows.
That might also be my problem. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But I'm with the same boat as you. I got some callbacks, not too many more
Yeah.
than that. So, as far as acting wise, what types of projects do you see yourself? Is it just plays right now? Is that kind of where you put your head, or is it also like, do you actually see yourself in the future, like TV show, movie?
In theory, yeah, like film and TV is like the art form that I'd be most passionate about acting in. That industry feels so difficult right now, so like I am hopping kind of from creative project to creative project right now while I look for a real job.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be in a Shakespeare festival this summer.
Hell yeah.
And that feels like an avenue where there is room for me right now, whereas like I don't feel like it's as easy to land a job in film or TV, which like it's never going to be easy, but
Right.
it does feel like I don't necessarily have the time to like commit to that in a huge way while also getting paid and making rent.
Yeah. It seems like an impossible task
Yeah.
right now, unless you made headway before all this shit kind of went down.
Yeah.
If you didn't, maybe this is just, a loser's attitude. But I mean,
Give up.
if you didn't necessarily, and this is just right now, August 2025, right now, I think it's pretty tough to like get much as a actor, this is me included, that has not been in a Netflix show or something.
Yeah.
Or doesn't have like 1 million followers.
Right. Which I do not.
Which is like insane that like people that is like a qualifier
Yeah.
to get like an acting role, because 1 million followers, I know so many people that have 1 million followers and should not.
Right.
But that's how the world is today. So if thinking back, like or even right now, what kind of like which actor do you kind of see yourself as?
Yeah,
or like
asked
what
a
type of
question,
performance?
and I never answered it.
Did I ask that already?
Yeah, and I was just never answered it.
I forgot I asked it. So there you go.
I mean, like things that I feel like I tend to get cast a lot as like moody artists, and like maybe that's because I'm getting typecast, but like those kind of projects I do find really interesting.
Okay.
Like Nocturnal Animals, I really love like that vibe, and like Jake Gyllenhaal in that movie. He's like kind of the career that I would want, just because he gets to play a pretty wide variety of things. Like he used to get cast a lot more as like the classic lead, but like tends to play a lot more like freaks these days, and I think that is super fun that he's able to do both.
Yes, dude. I have not. Nocturnal Animals is great.
I like didn't love it the first time I saw it
Really?
in theaters,
Okay.
and just because I thought it was like a little straightforward. But the more I've watched it, the more I'm like, this is so good. Just like the visuals and the acting are so.
Tom Ford, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really impressed by that movie, and I think some of the best like acting performances. I love Jake G.
Yeah.
Does he sometimes do cash grabs? Yeah.
Yeah.
He does. But good by him.
Yeah.
I think like Nightcrawler, Nocturnal Animals, and even this movie, it kind of got buried up a little bit just because it came. This movie called Stronger with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's about he's a survivor in the of the Boston bombing, where he loses his legs.
He played the real life person. Yeah.
It seemed kind of like on the outside, like follow the beats type of true story. It's actually a really incredible movie. That's like one of my gems that like nobody saw. It bombed, but I think it's actually like a really great movie, really really great performance.
Sometimes the movies that no one sees are like the ones that I end
know.
up like. I'm like, I still love that. Why don't people like that?
I know, and that's kind of like what I'm trying to like do is like promote some of those really cool movies.
Yeah.
But I think one of the best film performances in the last like 20 years is him in Prisoners.
I haven't seen that either.
Brother.
Sorry.
Well, I'm excited for you because
Yeah,
it's great.
Add it to my list.
So good. It's so he's so good. The movie has a couple. It's not my favorite of Denis Villeneuve's, but his performance in that movie it's unbelievable.
Nice.
And you kind of look like You kind of look like him.
I'm a white man.
A little bit. Yeah. So Jake G. What would be are you still going on Actors Access and auditioning?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like a lot of what on Actors Access right now is like vertical dramas, and so like I'm not super passionate about being in those. But I'm like, hey, if that will pay the bills, then maybe I will. But yeah, I'm still submitting to things. The things that excite me the most are like short films and feature films that are paid opportunities.
Yeah.
So I'm putting it on pause a little bit right now because I'm about to do this Shakespeare Festival, but definitely if I can keep myself from getting a real job and kind of just jump from project to project, that would be great. Yeah. So we will, we'll see how it goes.
Have you auditioned for those vertical?
I've submitted, and sometimes I get asked to submit like the actual tape, and sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. Because sometimes I will submit to like so many, and then I'll have like 5 to do, and I'm like, are any of these worth my actual time to like self-tape it? It depends, but I have submitted and I haven't been cast. So
for those who don't know, a big portion of LA, people making money as an actor in LA, I feel like in the last year, a lot of that percentage is vertical form, pretty much soap operas.
Yeah.
With a little bit of softcore porn.
Yeah, they're
like
very horny.
Yeah, very horny. Like billionaires, and it's always like
The
some crazy
titles.
rich dudes, billionaires. I don't even know. It's billionaires something every single time. But I mean, they like pay pretty well.
Yeah.
But and I don't want to shit on it too much just because like I do feel so bad for like people in LA that are like, I'm an actor, I'm going to be an actor, I need to make money as an actor. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? There's
Yeah.
nothing else out there. So it's like you're gonna go do the vertical short thing that's gonna pay you $5,000 this weekend.
Right.
So I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But like it is kind of a catch-22, and what we kind of saw back in the day with like soap opera stars. It's tough to I've heard of stories that it's tough to transition that when the opportunity does come.
Well, but people have done it.
Right.
You know,
It
what's his
has
name?
happened, yeah.
Nicholas Alexander Chavez. I haven't seen anything he's in, but he was in what's that show? Ryan Murphy, Monsters, about the like real life brothers.
Yeah, the Menendez, yeah.
He was like on some soap opera, like Days of Our Lives or something like that.
Okay.
Previously, and you know,
Yeah.
he got onto another TV show that was a little soap opera-y, perhaps, but
Yeah.
he's like has a more legitimate career now because of that.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it can go either way.
Yeah.
But the I did so many of those, dude. I have
Did you?
so many saved, like
Amazing.
horrible auditions saved on my computer. I don't know why I haven't deleted them. They're funny. But like horrible.
They're hard to audition for, and so that's why
And
sometimes I don't.
dude, I got called back a couple times, but I never got anything.
Because they're so cheesy, I feel like you have to. I don't know. I'm like I can't fully commit. So I'm like, this is so bad, and I'm probably not the right type for this character.
No.
So
It made me feel like, wow, dude, I was in a low place like a year ago when I was auditioning for all this shit, and I was like, dude, you suck. You're not getting any of these callbacks or anything like
I
that.
had a point in this play that I was just in that ended yesterday where I was driving home after the play, and I was not happy with my performance that night, and I was like, I'm just not meant to be an actor. I'm just gonna quit. And it's so funny because like and pretty much every night after that show, like there have been people being like, you did so great, and like some people for sure are like just like your friends and telling you they're just being nice, but like that, it's funny how you can really get into your own head like and think like, oh yeah, I should quit doing this forever. But like
Yeah.
I was like, I had so many lines to memorize and like kept tripping myself up, and I'm like, if a real actor would not get this nervous about this, and yet like every night I'm like struggling to get all these words out just because I was playing essentially a sex robot, and so I had a lot of
That's
like really
incredible.
technical dialogue to memorize. Hardest dialogue I've ever had to memorize. It was insane.
As like a robot.
Yeah.
Were you talking like a robot or?
It's sort of like one of the reviews of it was like he kind of reminded me of Baymax from Big Hero 6. I was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
was kind of like that.
There you
The
go.
character like goes through an evolution and stops talking robot like, but yeah,
Yeah.
I was talking like a robot.
That's awesome, dude. What's your like? You know, you obviously have a lot of experience. You are teaching acting. What's either the best piece of advice you've ever gotten, or what's advice you give to students?
The thing that I would give, and that like is the thing that changed acting for me, is like don't care, like don't try. Which like sounds like bad advice, but it's like
No.
the minute you start like thinking too hard about it, or like you put in all this work and you're like, this has to go the way that I planned it. It has to be like this. Like then you're not going to do a good job. So like the thing that I have found that makes acting easy is just going like, whatever, this doesn't matter. And like that's probably bad advice for some people, but like for someone who's maybe more like logical than I am emotional, like I have to remind myself to not think about it and just do it. I was in a play in grad school, The Seagull. I was playing Trigorin, which might mean nothing, but he's like not typically cast as my age. He's like the older writer character, but we were all like in our 20s. So I was playing that character. It had a monologue that was like pages long, and it was like kind of emotional, kind of intense, and I was like so proud of how I was doing it. I like had gotten it down to a science, and I had one of my teachers who was like one of my favorites. She was like my movement professor who I was under while I was teaching movement. She came to see it and she was like, really, really good, except for that one scene where you had that long monologue. Something wasn't quite right about it. I can't remember what she said, but she was like, that one was bad, so you should work on that. And I was like, that's the scene I was most proud of. And so then I like threw everything that I was doing away and was just like, just don't care, just do it. And then the next night the director was like, what did you do different? And I was like, I'm not totally sure, but I just decided that I didn't care about it. And she was like, well, keep doing that. So that is the thing that I would say is like, don't care. Do all the work beforehand so that you know what the character is, what you're supposed to be doing, your circumstances, and then drop it. Forget about it.
I love that. I love that. I think that sort of acting very natural, but still put the work in, you know. But if you're able to, I feel the same way. If you're able to put the work in, you understand character motivation, what you're doing in the scene, and then you just go. I think that's all anybody can do. So you've talked about all these different types of, you're a multi-hyphenate. What creative thing that you're doing right now makes you feel like the most yourself or makes you like the happiest?
Right now it's my comic. And I go through different phases. Like I was writing a play a few months ago that I've like finished and done a few readings over Zoom. And for a while it was that, and I'm still excited about that, but I've kind of shifted focus right now to work on my comic. Cause I have the time and it is very time consuming to do it. But I think just telling stories in general is the thing that I'm most passionate about. And I'm really excited about where the comic is going. It's going to be a full length comic. I've outlined the full thing. I've only completed like 30 pages of it. But I've been really trying to grow my following on Instagram because I've got the time right now. So I've been like, it's pumping out these videos that are like choose your own outcome videos essentially. So they're very like Dungeons and Dragons inspired, and that audience I'm figuring out is like they're the ones that are like liking and following. And so I'm hoping I can translate that interest into being interest towards my comic, because I'm using these videos to sort of like world build and like talk about the lore, even though they're like sort of generic-y fantasy videos. But yeah, my comic right now is the thing that I'm definitely feeling inspired to create.
Well, you can tell it's so cool.
Thank you.
Like I'm not necessarily someone, I didn't have like a lot of comics as a kid. I was never really grown up or never really grew up, doing that sort of thing. I think it's so cool. I love like fantasy aspects, and I don't totally understand why, like, I love fantasy. Like, why haven't I ever like gotten into that world? I've always been like really like interested. I like see it over there. I'm like, that's really cool.
Into
so I'm, like,
comics or into
like comics or like fantasy world type of like world building. All of it's just like world building, and I think that's like so cool to like even like looking at. I saw you posted like a map, like a fantasy map. Like I get so pumped up. Like I remember having like the old map of like Middle Earth of like Lord of the Rings and getting like really pumped up over it. So I don't totally understand like why I never really got into it, but like kind of looking at your stuff, I'm like, this is sick. This is sweet. So I love like seeing that. What was it like? Did you have to overcome anything when it comes to putting yourself out there or putting your stuff on social media? Was there any anxiety there?
Yeah, I mean, a few things. I'm gonna have to talk about my comic and all of the nerdiness of it, but that is something that I always feel so like when I'm in a conversation like at a party or something and people are like, what are you working on? I'm like, I'm something so nerdy that I can't even talk about it, because I've like done all of this, like I've created the world, and it's like it's like so silly to talk about, like when the words are coming out of my mouth. I'm like, I feel like such a nerd, but I am. But like being able to like talk to the camera, even though I have a background in acting, like I don't love talking to the camera. I feel like I'm pretending or like playing a character, so I don't feel as genuine as I would like to when I'm doing it. But that has been a big hurdle, and just being able to talk about the fantasy world that I'm excited about, but like that I don't want to feel like a nerd as I'm doing it. So that's been a pretty big barrier. And I think also just like trying to stay I'm like getting a lot of interest in it just in the past like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, it seems like you've had really great.
But that's very recent. And so like prior to that, trying to stay motivated even when it feels like you're creating in a vacuum has always been the thing that is the hardest as an artist in any avenue that I'm pursuing. It's like when you're putting all this work into it and you're like, I know this thing I'm making is good, but it feels like no one is seeing it. It feels like, okay, like, yes, I'm excited about it, but it's hard to continue if I'm not getting any feedback like that it's good or that people are interested in it. So that has been a burden for sure, but like it helps to have other people that are creative in your life that you can be like, hey, I'm working on this. Can you just like look at it and tell me what you think? And like getting that reflection back can be so helpful to like go, okay, I've got enough energy now to like keep going. So that has been good to have other people give me feedback and stuff.
That is the whole like creating in a vacuum. It does feel like that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And people don't really like realize that and understand that like when you're doing something that's like a little bit different. I come from Des Moines, Iowa.
Oh wow.
So nobody's now, I mean, I know some creative people, but like I directed and like starred in zero budget like short films. I started doing that a couple years ago. You know, you don't get like a ton of interaction, and it's mostly like a lot of people that are close to me were very receptive and very supportive. But then you get some of those people like, what is that over there? What is he doing?
Right.
You know, and you feel that a little bit, but and then you create some more, and it seems like nobody's watching it. And then it's all about, to me at least, creating for yourself. You're doing this thing because you like this thing. You
Yeah.
think that this thing is cool, and finding a way to make it about you, be selfish about it, and just be like, I'm happier when I'm doing this thing. I would love for you to love it. If you don't, that's okay, because I like it a lot. And that sort of thing, for me, has been incredibly hard to come around to and kind of like accept. But your stuff is like total, it's insane. It's so cool. So if you haven't, what's plug the Instagram?
My Instagram for my comic is at Knight and Shadow. Knight as in like knight in shining armor, Knight and Shadow. And that's the name of the comic as well.
Yes, perfect. So go follow that right now. And I mean, dude, this is exactly like, I want to highlight people like you that are like doing like this cool type of stuff that like makes them happy. And that's so sweet. What's the future? Do you know when, like, how far are you within like creating this comic? What does, I don't even know what like producing or distributing like a comic even entails. Do you know yet?
Not totally. I know like a little bit. So like there are different avenues I could take. I could probably start submitting it now with how much of it I have done to like big publishers, but it is probably unlikely that I would get published by one of them. There's like smaller indie publishers that I'm going to submit to once I'm closer to completing it. And one of the things I will do is, once I have more of a product to share, is go to like these like indie comic creator like Comic Cons that are like smaller versions of Comic Con, where you can like sell prints, and like I'll probably sell like a smaller version of it that's like maybe the first chapter of it or something, to get people interested in the bigger thing or something. But I'm like a little less than a third of the way done with it. It's going to be like 10 chapters, and each chapter is about 10 pages. So I finished the prologue and the first 2 chapters and a little bit more. And like there was a point in 2024 where I was like, I'm going to be done with it by the end of the year. And then I got a job that took up all my time. So I'm like, I've got time now. So maybe by the end of this year, I'll be done. We'll see, you know, like what happens next. But I'm like, I am chipping away at it. If I can get like a page done a week, I'm happy.
Yeah. I mean, that's sweet. But I mean, dude, you've also been like posting constantly on on your Instagram, which is like so huge, as to like building buzz. And maybe you don't even need a distributor when it comes around.
And maybe
How sick would that be?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I've been trying to do, is like build the audience, even if it's not directly about my comic, it's about the world. And that also does take a lot of time though, to make those videos and post those constantly. So when I'm making those, I'm not working on the comic. So it's just like, I'm like trying to figure out how to use my time to the best.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the cool part of like social media. And I think this kind of like transfers over to, as I've talked to, you know, beginning this podcast and talked to different creators about self-distribution, and kind of like sometimes cutting, you know, the middlemen and like promotion agents and distributors can be incredible, and they can really push your stuff, and you can really, you know, distribute and make you a lot of money. But there's also times when, you know, self-distribution just by social media, or like people thinking your stuff is cool just because of what you've posted in the past, and selling it that way, like, dude, that could like totally explode.
Yeah, I mean, it's to the point where I'm like, I'm really, like you're saying, you know, this is something I'm really excited about and I'm really passionate about, and I think the story is good, and I think the art is good.
Art's great.
Thank you. And so I'm like, if I'm this excited about it and no one wants to publish it for me, I'm like, I am just going to figure out how to self-publish it, because I think the product's good and I want to make more of them at some point. So.
So you bought an iPad. How did you learn?
So
did you have any sort of like idea going into that?
Well, I'd always drawn, and I hadn't done digital art before that, but I kind of just thought if I bought one and got Procreate, I would figure it out, and I did. So Procreate is the app that I use. It's like, I think, the simplest, most intuitive like drawing app, as opposed to like all of the Adobe programs.
Okay.
There's a downfall to it, which is that it's not like vectorized, so it's hard to like resize things once you've already drawn them.
Yeah.
But that's not really an issue. Yeah, I really just taught myself. Like, looking back at the art when I was first starting is like horrible, because it's funny to be like, I can draw something so good on paper, but like not have it translate to the iPad is interesting. But yeah, I really just am self-taught on Procreate. It just took me a while. Like, I would watch some like YouTube tutorials here and there to like figure out some of the shortcuts and stuff, but I just figured it out over time.
That's sweet. I mean, you've been working on it a while now. If for somebody else that's like starting a comic book, what's your biggest like piece of advice in creating something like that? Whether it's like world building or whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the actual act of creating the comic, it depends on what kind of artist you are, but I really struggle with like consistent, like making the characters look consistent throughout. And so like the first thing I do is I draw all the characters, and I draw them from multiple angles so that I can make sure that I have a reference for what they look like from all the different sides. Because it's like, drawing a character, designing a character is one thing, but then having them exist in a three-dimensional world is like a little more complicated. So I make sure that I like know what they look like and I can recreate them, because it's a lot of drawings. It's like so many drawings per page. Yeah. And outlining things beforehand. I find if you're doing digital art, all artists are probably a little bit different, but like I am not as free. I don't feel as free to explore exciting poses or interesting like compositions if I'm doing it on the iPad first. There's something about it that just like feels like it has to be final. And so I feel more free to kind of explore and try different things if I'm drawing it out on paper first. So I draw the whole comic out really messy, and it's not like they're finished drawings, but I draw it all out on paper first. And so I'm like probably a chapter ahead on paper than I am on my iPad.
Right.
So like I've got it outlined with text, and then I'm like slowly working my way through on paper and then on my iPad.
That's so sweet. That's so cool. I can't wait to see it when it's all done. What's like your biggest, since moving, what's your biggest thing you like about Los Angeles?
Like Los Angeles, I don't like specifically love. I think what I love is that there's so much happening. Like it feels like there's always somewhere great to eat or somewhere great to hang out. Many of my best friends are in LA, so I love that about it the most.
Yeah.
My favorite like spot in LA is probably like Griffith Park. I love hiking and being outside and stuff. So like before I moved here, I didn't know that there were opportunities to do that right there in the city. I was like, it's not gonna be like that, but there is. You can go there. So it's I like that there's nature easily accessible.
Well, that's what I miss about being kind of in the valley. I mean, we have the beach, which is pretty sweet.
The beach is
but
great.
like I loved doing Griffith Park hikes.
Yeah.
Like I loved it. That was
so
like
green.
my favorite thing. Yeah. And you don't really get a ton of that, like, in the city in LA. Okay. So what's your least favorite thing?
I hate driving. I'm like, I don't love to drive.
I'm sorry you had to drive here.
No, you're good. But I mean, like, and amongst that, just like car stuff in general has been like the biggest horrible thing about LA. My car was broken into many times and then stolen. And so I had to get a new car. So that has like been in many ways a barrier to like having, like every time something happens to my car, I have to pay money. So I'm like, I need something consistent, which is why I've like worked at jobs where I'm like not as flexible, but at least I'm getting consistently paid, because I kept on having crazy stuff happen to my car. I got so many flat tires.
What happened to your car? How did it get stolen? Where did it get stolen?
I'm in K-Town, and it is like parking is insane. So you're always parking just like on the street. And I was also driving the most stealable car in the world, which I didn't know. I was driving a Kia Soul, and they're like super easy to steal. And I did not know that until a few years ago. Because before that, I was like, I'd never heard that before, but they're just like so easy to steal.
Yep. Have you seen, there's a YouTube video. I can't remember what it is. It's like these kids in like Milwaukee, and they're stealing like every Kia in the 10-mile radius. Like all of them gone. They have the special whatever it takes.
I'm like, how did you make a car that bad?
How are you not like recalling these things?
Well, there was like some kind of lawsuit
Really?
filed against them. I like don't know that ever turned into anything. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
they like had to update. I'm sure Kias that they're making now are better because they've updated their system. But there was some way they could just like take out your like ignition and like plug something in. Crazy.
It's so crazy. Yeah. I feel like everybody, I mean, it sounds like you had a horrible time. I haven't heard that bad of like car stories, like moving to LA. I mean, I'm a car down. We're down to one car now. One's, just been broken into. And I had it was such an old car. I was hiking at Runyon and I fucking left my golf bag in my trunk and they took my clubs. I was like, take my car, please leave the golf clubs. I'm 6'5".
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna want those golf clubs. They're humongous.
Crazy.
Just, yeah. I mean, but that's just part of living in, big city. I do, as far as LA, there are, I come from a place where not much is happening. So that's like probably my favorite thing as well. Weather is something that, I mean, you're from, well, I guess you're from Oregon.
Well, I didn't. So I lived in Oregon for a year after undergrad. I like moved up to that area because my mom was in Washington at the time.
Yeah.
And I lived there. I liked Portland a lot. I was in Portland, Oregon, and I was born in Portland, but I didn't grow up in Portland. I like moved away. My family moved like before I have any memories of it. So I grew up primarily in Southern California, a little bit in Northern California.
Yeah.
But I like it in California. Like I didn't know that when I was in Portland, I didn't expect to miss it because I was like, I love the rain, I love the cold, but like I love California rain and I love California cold, and I did not know there was a difference.
It's so different.
And I like didn't think I would miss the desert, but I love the desert. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because I love like the trees and stuff too. I love hiking where it's green, but like I love the desert, and I didn't think I'd miss it, but I really did.
Yeah. So when you got to LA, how was it? Did you already have friends here? Did you already have a network of people, or how was it like making new friends?
I have not made well, that's not true. I have made some new friends, but I had friends here who had already moved out here after undergrad. So most of my friends here are friends that I was on an improv team with in undergrad.
Nice.
And then through like my boyfriend, I've made new friends recently. But before that, I was like, I don't really need any new friends. I've got enough. But yeah, just friends of friends. I feel lucky that like I had people here already that kind of built a community that kind of I could just kind of step into.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah. Because how old are you?
29.
Same here. There
Nice.
you go. Late 20s, making friends is crazy. I got super lucky, but I know plenty of people. It's just like,
Nice.
it's so hard if you don't step in and have like a group of people.
And I'm like it's like you're saying, you're not that reserved. You came on a podcast with a stranger, but like I'm pretty introverted. And so like if a friend isn't like, let's go do this, I'm like, I'm good to just be at home drawing on my little iPad, like a little iPad baby.
Oh man, that's great. So I mean, like, best case, I love hearing about, we're all about dreams here. We're all trying to, we're on the fringe. It hasn't, totally, we're not living in mansions yet. What is the dream for you? Like, what's that dream career? What's that dream life for you?
Because I have so many like interests, it's really like I could see myself being happy in so many different avenues.
Yeah.
The thing that like I would like to see happen most is like to have my comic published, to have like a career as an illustrator and a comic creator, and that like this world that I'm creating for my comic is expanded to more like one of my friends was working on an indie video game, and there was a point where they were talking to me about doing some of the art because they had an artist that they were potentially thinking of like having another artist contribute to it just to get it done faster. It ended up not working out, but they were interested in the comic I was creating and the world that I was creating, and they were like, it'd be so cool to create a game in this world. And so I love to see like the world I've created expand into something bigger than just a comic.
Yeah.
So that I would like that, to have a successful comic that can turn into more things.
Yeah. Do you think like that would be like video game? Is that like that kind of where you're?
Yeah. I mean, that's where some of my inspiration came from. And so I think it would work really well as a video game.
Yeah.
Or just something in that world as a video game.
That'd
One
be
of
so
the
cool.
things when I was creating the comic was it started as something I was posting once a week that was really just simple, like very video game inspired. Like I had a health bar in the corner, and once I was turning it into something larger, the first thing I did was figure out what the world was. So I wanted to create a world that felt big, and like there could be a lot of stories that are told in it. So like, because I put so much work into it, I'm like, I'm gonna write a lot of comics that are in this world that don't have the same character even. So it feels like there's a lot of opportunity to tell stories in that world.
Yeah. So what other like video games or things in your life like have influenced what you're doing right now, or what would influence other things you write?
Yeah, I can talk about a few. I mean, I grew up reading some comics because my brother was a big comic book fan, but most of those were like superhero comics, and I still love those, but I don't necessarily read those anymore. There was a comic that I found on Tumblr that like doesn't exist except for online on Tumblr, and I don't think that it's still being written actively because the guy got super successful. He was working on like my Adventures with Superman. He was working on some TV show, but this comic, it was called Necropolis, and it was, the art was just so beautiful, and the world that he was building felt like, I love worlds that feel like there's this like vast history that like goes way beyond where the story even started.
Uh-huh.
And so that was really inspiring to me. That's the thing that kind of made me think, oh, maybe I should write a comic. And so even before I was working on this one, I was very inspired by it, and it got me working on some other projects and stuff. Another video game that I really love took a lot of inspiration from Zelda, which is one of my biggest inspirations. It's called Tunic.
Okay.
It's the best video game I've ever played. It is very difficult. It's very like stylistically very simple. Like it's like low poly graphics.
Okay.
But one of the concepts of the game is that like they don't give you a lot of information. Most of the text that you see in the game is written not in English. It's like in a fake language. And so you have to kind of like figure out how to play the game all on your own. And like you'll go to certain areas and not know that you can do something yet, but then you'll just figure out how to do something that you could have done the entire time and go back, and like new things will open. And so I really liked this sense of discovery that the game had. And so I'd like to carry that kind of feeling into my comic of like, there's things that you don't necessarily understand yet, but if you figure that thing out, that thing that happened earlier will make sense. I want it to feel like there's like a sense of mystery to the world a little bit.
That's so sweet, because like that's so true. Where at least for me, like obviously video games, like you look at, you know, PS5, like you load up a new video game, it looks is like so hyper realistic. But I feel like a lot of times, like whether it's the story or like the gameplay or like just the puzzles or whatever it is, isn't always like there. I almost prefer some of these older games. I was never on PC. I was always like a console guy. But I feel like some of those older games, they really focused on like, you know, really cool like world building, stories, puzzles. And I think that's like everything. And you even talked about, I saw in one of your videos that like you created a language.
Yeah, and that was, I am making the connection to Tunic now, which I wasn't even thinking of when I when I was talking about it in the video. But I got the inspiration from Artemis Fowl, which I say in that video, because the books, I don't know if you ever read it, but they had like a secret language that every page of the book had some text written on it. And I, like being the nerd that I am, went through and like decoded every single book, and it felt like there was like you were figuring something out that not everyone knew. And I really liked that. And already in my comic, I'd kind of built into it that there's like a certain kind of magic that is done with this like ancient language. And so I was like, it'd be fun to just actually figure out what that language looks like. And so I was like, I could put a little secret message there. So I haven't added that to the comic yet, because I've already done 30 pages of it. But once it's all done, that I can go through and like see what little secret message I had there.
How do you even start like doing that?
Like making a secret language?
Yeah.
So because I am an actor and was in grad school, I had to teach speech, and that's like for essentially voice and speech are like typically jammed together, but the speech portion of it is kind of focused on accents and stuff like that. One of the things you learn, and my favorite part of that, is the International Phonetics Alphabet, which is an alphabet that is all phonetic. So it's all based on sounds. So it's not letters. It's not like letters in the alphabet. It's like consonants and vowels essentially. And so you learn like where in your mouth certain noises are made, and like how they connect to other ones. So like t and duh, you make it using the same part of your mouth. One is unvoiced, one is voiced. Right. And so like that was kind of my starting point for making the language. I wanted to keep it a little more alphabetical because it'd be easier for me to write it. But I took a lot of inspiration in terms of like what the letters looked like. They have a relationship to each other if they are made in the same part of your mouth. So that is kind of where I started.
Jeez. How long is that even like
It
taking
didn't
you?
take me that long.
Really?
Yeah, like I went through a few different versions of it. So like I had like 3 or 4 before I settled on it because I would like finish the alphabet. I was like, I like how all these letters look. And I would like
Yeah.
write something in it. And I was like, it looks bad altogether. So I like had to simplify what I was doing a little bit. But I used this program. I used it to just make fonts for my comic. It's called Calligrapher. It's actually a website, and you can like
Okay.
put your handwriting into it, essentially is like the point of it. But I've used it to like make little simple fonts because I
That's
don't
so sweet.
always like the fonts that I find.
That's sweet. That's sweet. I mean, just that level of like care about like this story, this world, it always like bleeds through. The same way like you watch a certain movie or a TV show, you can always like, I mean, maybe not always, but when a movie's like really, really good, you can tell that the screenwriter really, really cared and spent a lot of time in the world building. The director spent a lot of time in the world building and these characters, how they all fit together.
Yeah.
That always like bleeds through. And I think that's always going to be AI proof, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that like AI is just coming up with something in just a second. This is like very real, like human, creating languages. And
Yeah.
I think that's like incredibly inspiring. That's
Thank
so
you.
cool for you to like be doing something like that.
It's one of those things like you're saying where I'm like, I'm doing this kind of just for me. Like, even if people do love my comic, there's no guarantee that anyone's going to care enough to like decode this language. But I'm like, I think it's fun. And I think it's just another like element of mystery that I think is kind of fun.
Right. But I mean, it all like starts somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like fucking J.R. Tolkien, when he was writing Lord of the Rings, at times was like, geez, this is kind of like, I'm really going in on this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's, I think it always starts like you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it because you love it. You're not doing it for other people, but because you're doing it for yourself and you really care about this thing, when it's put out, people will latch onto that. I think that's where like magical and really cool stuff and creative storytelling is incredible.
Yeah.
So to kind of like wrap this up, how would you feel, or how have you felt your time? Talk about some of those ups and downs as you're like you're acting in plays, you're writing plays, you're creating this comic book. What are some of those like down times that you're where do those kind of like spring from for you?
For me, it's like the thing I already talked about, which is like when I feel like I'm doing this in a vacuum, it can feel so draining. So there was a point in grad school, it was like the summer between my second year and my last year of grad school, or that might not be right. It might have been my first and second year. But in any case, I was like, I had the summer to do nothing and was like pouring a lot of effort into another comic I was writing at the time that I was releasing on Instagram, and it felt like no one cared. And I was proud of it at the time. I'm not super proud of it now, but I was like, I'm working so hard on this and it feels like it's for nothing. And like whenever I'm feeling down, art or writing, creating something is the thing that brings me back up. And so I couldn't get out of it because the thing that I was depressed about was the fact that it felt like it was for nothing.
Yeah.
And so it felt hard to create, but then I don't know, I just kept doing it. Like I actually never stopped, and then just finally was like, actually I have to do it, otherwise I'll die.
Right.
So I mean, that's the lowest, is when it feels like it's in a vacuum. But like the best thing you can do is just find someone who is creative and whose feedback you value, and just ask them for input, for their thoughts on it, even because sometimes even if they're just saying things about it, they might not even be giving you ideas. They're just like, well, this was interesting. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like that little bit of reflection is so helpful.
Absolutely. So then what's been your best moment as a creative?
A few. I mean, like one of the best moments was doing the play that I wrote for Hollywood Fringe, just because like that was the first time something I'd created was like fully produced and felt like it had a life outside of where it was on the paper. Like I was involved with it because I was acting in it, but I wasn't directing it. I had a friend who was directing it.
Right.
So that was great, just to get all the feedback and to like have it exist and be real was incredible.
That's sweet. Where did you perform that?
It was at Timely Arts. I never know how to say that place's name. Timely Arts
Where is that
Asylum. It's in Hollywood.
It's in Hollywood?
It's on Santa Monica, which means nothing because that street is endless. I'm horrible with knowing names.
I am too.
I don't understand.
I am too. Unless I've like lived there, I don't totally know. Well, dude, I'm so inspired by you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on. So Nick Exum, it's Nights. What's your Instagram again? Plug that.
Night and Shadow.
Night and Shadow.
Night
Go
as in night and
follow
shining armor.
Night and Shadow. You will not regret it. It's incredible. It's an awesome comic book. Nick, you are the best.
Thank
you so much for
Thank
coming
you
on.
having me.
All right, thanks. You're the best, dude.
Thank you. Oh my god, the minute I said that,